Greetings, Slackers. September Man here, and you're with me on my way into work. So, last night I did something, and I told you I'm not the big gamer. I love playing retro games, but I did something last night, and it's not really that big of a deal, but it's kind of a big deal because it just goes to show you how things have changed. And what I did is I downloaded some emulators on my phone, and I already had some ROMs and whatnot. So around Christmas time, I capitalized on some NES and SNES classics because I had heard that they were going to be going out of production. So, those little systems are great and they're cool because what are they going to do? They're going to tap into your nostalgia. They're going to, help you instantly create or recreate, better yet, fond memories of moments that you've had with video games, providing you've had them. But it's just amazing. I was like, playing a Super Nintendo emulator on my phone. I'm just like, wow, Nintendo messed up. Nintendo messed up big time. And one of the things about Nintendo, I would have to say I'm a Nintendo kid, is Nintendo has always charted their own course. I will give them credit for that. Whether it's right or wrong, they deliver and they follow through. And one of the strong things that Nintendo has going for it is its intellectual property. Its IPs are probably worth more than $1 billion a piece. I mean, especially Pokemon, Mario, Legend of Zelda, now Metroid. So these franchises are now, heck, we've been playing them since kids, but now these younger kids have access to them through the Switch. I was just reading the news the other day. They're talking about putting the NES Classic and SNES Classic games on the Wii so people have, an opportunity to play them. But the only problem is they don't have the whole library. Another problem is, outside of not having that library, Nintendo doesn't own all the licenses. See, a lot of the games were licensed for the console, so they don't have the rights to them, and so I don't know if they have a way of being able to obtain those properties and release them through their virtual console. But, when it comes to ROMs, people are saying, we're tired of waiting around on Nintendo to get their game right. Nintendo is the master of game, but this one time, they don't have their game right. And they said they weren't going to be coming out with an N64 Mini. I think that's kind of stupid, only because the N64 was an immensely popular system. And again, the games that came forth on it were some of the most memorable games of our time. But for any of you who know who Radical Reggie is, you can check out his YouTube channel here. When we grew up, we were playing all those games. And I remember he introduced me because he had an N64 and he had a PlayStation. And so he brought over his N64 and we were playing Mario and Legend of Zelda and all this stuff. But he had the PlayStation 1. And so he was showing me Metal Gear Solid. I'll never forget this. And so I remember that one part of the game where you're battling Psycho Mantis and you got to put the controller over in the other port. That was just so ingenious and novel to me that I'm just like, N64, PlayStation. I can't have both. I'm going to venture and I'm going to go ahead and deviate from Nintendo and I'm going to go with a Sony PlayStation instead. So I ended up getting a PlayStation because I'm a Metal Gear fan and I was just floored with that game. I wanted to play that game. And there were others too, because you had Final Fantasy VII that was really big. I mean, a couple of others like Ape Escape and stuff like that. So I missed out on the N64 as a console, but where I did get into it was through emulators and ROMs. I had time on my hands, so, I was playing Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time and Turok and GoldenEye. These were some great games. They were fun. But like I said at the time, I couldn't have both and I had to make a choice. So yeah, he talked me into getting a PlayStation over the N64. Not only that, the N64, that was one of the last cartridge-based systems that Nintendo came out with next to, of course, their handheld, which was the Game Boy Advance and the, I didn't really keep up on a lot of that because I wasn't into mobile gaming. I just kind of kept my consoles at home. But you know, it's just so amazing that on your Android phone or on your Apple, you know, you have access to emulators that instantly tap you back into a lot of the games that you played some 20, 30 years ago, right? You have that ability. And I understand Nintendo's position because when the NES Classic came out, a couple of ROM sites that were well known, they decided to, you know, save themselves some heat and get rid of all those ROMs, get rid of the access to them. They had been there for years. I'll never forget one day how I found out about ROMs is I was going to the store to pick up a birthday present for a girlfriend that I had at the time. And so I was back in the video game section and this dude comes by and so we started chatting and talking for a minute. He was like, man, all these games, did you know you can play them on your computer? I'm all, oh, you can play them on your computer? He's all, yeah, check it out, ROMs. ROMs? Yeah, with a Z, ROMZ. I said, okay, I'll check that out. And like I said, they've been around for a very long time. Now, it's hard to come by them. Well, it's not really hard to come by them. You'll just have to look for them through other means, but you won't be going through most websites to get them. It just won't be accessible like that. They had to protect those IPs because, two, people were taking the NES Classics in with the extra RAM. They were hacking them, and so they were, you know, loading up more games outside of the 30 that Nintendo gave you access to. And, I mean, I think 30 is enough, but there's always some games that, you know, you like to play. Why not have access to them all? But do you think that Nintendo is missing out on a major opportunity by not releasing an N64 Classic? And are they also missing out by not releasing their games in mobile format versions where, you know, people can play these old classics because people are willing to pay? But how can you pay for something that's not there? Leave all that for me down in the comments section below this video. That's going to do it. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.